What's up, guys? I was just listening to a really good podcast, and I almost didn't sign on to do this recording because I was so into it, but I kept getting distracted because I kept having a bunch of stuff just run through my head for some reason, and big bumps. And when that happens, I try to make an effort to record it and just kind of talk out loud. I'm not because I'm like, wow, that's so important, I need to get that out, but more because I really value not losing ideas that I have for myself. I want to remember the things that I come up with, or that I think about, or that I reflect on. And I don't know, that makes me feel good. When I put it out onto a recording like this, it becomes real. And I want to remember those things. And so I was compelled. I had to turn the recording on. And you guys are going to be like, what are you thinking about? Probably not. Maybe it's something intense. I don't know. I was thinking about the lessons that I learned as a result of the pandemic with regard to risk, and how I perceived risk and what risk meant. And it's just really interesting because the pandemic kind of confirmed some things that I believed, and some things that I was taught, but I was always a little bit afraid to confirm those things. And the pandemic, in one way or another, kind of forced my hand, and I ended up learning a lot through experience. And it was pretty interesting. So I think a lot about risk, mostly from the standpoint of risk versus reward, and I guess I'll just jump right into it. So the pandemic really showed me that risk is absolutely necessary for you to accomplish your goals if they're anything above, I hate to say mediocrity, but that's really all that can come to mind. And I'll be the first one to say, there's nothing wrong with, work your job, come home, live your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But for a person who has, extraordinary goals, who has, dangerous and wild ambition, and, really wants to squeeze life for what it's worth, and, those are things that I want. I want to learn so many things, and I want to do so many things, and it never stops. Part of this, this podcast is a good example of, I just want so many things. I'm so interested in so many things that I just have to do those things, right? And I can't do any of those things. I can't run multiple businesses or be involved with multiple businesses. I can't compete in powerlifting at a high level. Not to say I'm at a high level, but I'm trying really hard. I can't, do any of the things travel and own real estate, and I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar. I want to do so many things, and there is inherent risk associated to all of those things. And so you might be saying to yourself, what inherent risk is there in learning to play the guitar, Derek? And that's probably a bad example, but it is a good example of time spent on something that I might never be good at is time that I won't get back. And I look at everything through the lens of risk profile, because it's all about resources. It's time, money, effort, energy, mental, emotional space. You sacrifice something for everything. And in this particular example, if you want a lot of things, but you are unwilling to sacrifice any of your resources, any of your time, any of your mental, emotional space, if you're unwilling to do that, then the only risk that you actually do take is whatever you might have had if you went for it. And so, as a personal trainer by trade, my mind always goes to like risk profile of exercises for the person in front of me. And I always think like, okay, what's the likelihood that this person is going to become injured or have a hard time or get scared or something like that for this particular exercise versus get them to their goals? And I always go like really polarizing. What are the extremes? Because at the end of the day, no matter what I do today, they are not going to get to their goals today. Not today. It's all about steps over time, consistency. Time is the, time and effort are the most imperative aspects of that. So now, keeping that in the back of my mind, I can hurt them today, and that could fuck them up for a while. So I always look at it from who is this person and what's the appropriate risk profile for their goals. And so I try to look at that in life as well. And that's why I say, like, I don't care if, a person wants a simple life. I don't, do you? Who am I? Why do I care? I don't. It does, especially if it doesn't hurt me, affect me, do whatever you want. I could care less, I'm happy for you. But for me, I want so many things. I don't want a simple life. I want a crazy, fast, exciting. I want to learn and do so many different things. So I have to look at it through that lens and that risk profile. And that risk profile inherently means that I have to sacrifice time and energy and headspace and relationships, and I have to sacrifice a lot of things to get the things that I want out of them. And as a result, I have to surround myself with people who understand that and who are willing to kind of come with me on that journey, if you will. And so what I'm getting at is we often look at risk very flatly. I don't know if that's a word. It could be, flatly. And we only look at it, it's very passive. It's what could I lose, by doing this? That's the risk. That's the profile that we all look at it through, the lens, rather, that we all look at it through. What could I lose? If I do this, I could lose everything. And, to some degree, yes, you're right. And if that's how you think, then you should not be taking that risk. Because you clearly don't believe in yourself as much as you don't believe in yourself, or the results that you would affect or create. Right? If you're only thinking about the things you're going to lose, then don't do that. Because you're not in the headspace. You don't believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you for you. Now, it goes the same in the other direction. If you are so, irresponsible or impulsive that you just take unnecessary and low yield risks, high risk, low yield, that's not good either. You really need to look at things for what they are and try to be rational about this. Now, just like anything and everything, it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. taking appropriate risks given a particular situation combined with your specific goals is where the sweet spot is. So I think about this a lot because I think a lot of people are terrified to take risks, but at the same time desperately want more from their life, but are unwilling to go get it. And I think that's a big part of where our society loves to point the finger. They love to blame other people. They love to blame our government, or they love to blame their boss, or they blame their neighbor for whatever thing. But they like to point the finger rather than take responsibility to make their goals a reality. And it's because they are afraid of risk. And now don't sit here and be like, oh well, that's easy for you to say, Derek, or whatever the case is. Like, what I'm getting at here is risk is it's a sliding scale based on where you are, and you have to take relative size risks to where you are in life at that moment. And sometimes you're gonna take a risk, you're gonna win, and you're gonna ride that to the next level, and then maybe you have a tiny setback and then you win again, and that's the point. That's how you level up. You inherently have to take on more at each level, kind of like think of it from a gamified perspective. I guess that's how I think about it. I just level up, and I inherently have to accept all of the things at that level to maintain my current position, but also I have to accept new risks to move up to the next rung, if you will. But risk can be different at every level. One risk could be, you really want to get paid more at your job, but you're unwilling to spend any of your own time learning any new skills, getting better at your craft, seeking out answers on your own. You demand to be paid for every bit of time you spend, with your company. But then you complain or you get upset when you don't make an absorbent amount more money. The company's not doing right by you. They're not taking care of you. They haven't made you rich. They haven't fulfilled all of your dreams, but neither of you, because you're afraid of losing out on your time. The risk is, well, maybe they never recognize me, maybe I never make any more money, and blah, 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 blah. In which case, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you're right, because you're not going to do anything anyway. Or maybe the risk is you refinance your home to fund the purchase of a new business. That's a bigger risk. It's a much bigger risk. You inherently, anything could happen. And I think about these things from I'm blanking on my words. That's unfortunate. I think about it from, like a feast or famine kind of perspective. It's positive or negative. It's very polarized. And you have some people who just always take the negative route, and they're always, really negative, and as a result, they get negative results. They don't take risks. They stay in their box. They have a very predictable life and earning potential, and they kind of top out where they top out, and they end up limiting the options they have for themselves. And then you have, that's the words I was looking for, a scarcity mindset, right? That's a scarcity mindset. You're going to lose everything. But then there's an abundance mindset, which is where you believe in yourself, and you inherently believe that you deserve, whatever success comes your way, and that you deserve success, and that all of your success is earned, and that you will build upon that and earn more. And what the pandemic taught me is that literally anything can happen. And sometimes it's not predictable. And that's scary. An example would be, I had an incredibly well-paying job prior to the pandemic. And then, all of a sudden I didn't. And I had a mortgage to pay and, a lot of different things going on in my life that wasn't convenient for. And with the help of a few good mentors, I ended up, instead of going to find another job, I ended up just investing whatever I had, plus, a tremendous amount of credit card debt at that moment. Don't worry, I'm fine now, guys. But in a new business, and then doubling down and going into a second one. And it all just came down to, yes, anything can happen. But if I only look at this as I have everything to lose and nothing to gain, then I will be right. But if I look at this as this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to level the playing field for everyone, to get into my own business, start small, start slow, and work my way up and be competitive all the while, then I could come out of this an enormous winner. Now, I'm still doing it, right? I'm still working each day, and I'm still hustling, and I'm still fighting the good fight and making it happen. So, who knows? This could flop, and I could, be just talking out of my ass. But I don't think I will. I'll be honest. I'm very willing to bet on myself. Very willing to bet on my team. I'm very willing to take those risks. But I could easily see it from the other angle. The point is, you cannot predict the future. You can make a good guess. You can, think that you know exactly what's going on. But if you are not willing to bet on yourself, if you're not willing to take risks and invest in yourself, then you're basically just saying that you're willing to risk whatever you could have had you decided to make the risk. Does that make sense? If you choose to stay safe and maintain a scarcity mindset and not risk anything at all because you're afraid to lose whatever you have, whatever you currently have, I'm willing to bet that you will never have anything worth losing. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but growth happens when you're a little uncomfortable. Growth happens when you find yourself in a scenario where you have to handle pressure and understand yourself in stressful situations. When you have to make it happen. Special things happen to people when they are forced to make something work. In business specifically, right? People who are forced to figure it out in order to survive often come out as winners because they have no other choice. Now, don't get this twisted. I'm not telling you to go out and spend all your money on a business that you have no understanding of or that you've never done or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is look at where you are right now and start to evaluate what sort of risks you can take in order to start pushing you into the direction you want to go. Whether it's spending a little bit of extra time and maybe not getting directly paid for that time, reading books, getting new professional certifications or credentials, doing some research, investing money, putting money aside, looking into different housing markets. Think about what you want to do. And if money wasn't an issue, if the only sacrifice that you're afraid of is the money, well, how do you get the money? How do you get the time? Are you unwilling to take the risk? Or are you unwilling to do the work? That's a very good question. You should never be outworked. You should never be out-hustled. The episode this morning, was a semi-direct challenge of you can only control yourself. So what do you want? I just was thinking about that so much, and the things that I learned from the pandemic were so incredible that while it was a terrible experience for many people, I don't think I would have changed anything for myself. Because the things that I learned in real time, I think are priceless. It made me such a strong, confident person. Not that I wasn't those things beforehand, but it fortified me. It showed me that you can take everything away from me and I will be fine. It might take me a little bit of time, but I'll be fine. And the reason is, you can't take away what I know. You can't take away my willingness to do the work. You can't take away my ability to see and act upon patterns. And I learned all of these things by just doing it, by being willing to do the work, by being willing to take risks, put myself out there, by being willing to struggle. So maybe that's the lesson in all this. I thought it was about risks, but maybe it's not entirely about risks. Maybe it's about determining what you want, whether you're willing to take the appropriate risks for where you are and what you want. And if not, are you simply unwilling to do the work? I think that is pretty powerful. I think a lot of people, kind of going back to what I said about society wanting to point fingers, I think a lot of people will easily brush this off. A lot of people. I'm hilarious. I think all 10 people who listen to this will a few of them may brush this off. I know all of you intimately, so You're all gonna love it and take it on, and you're gonna do a great job. But those of you who I don't know. The point is, I'm being silly. The point is, there are plenty of people whom, if they heard this, are very likely to brush this off, because that's kind of where we are with society right now. It's really easy to make an excuse. It's really easy to point the finger. It's really easy to brush it off and blame somebody else, right? And that being the case, a lot of people will sit here and be like, well, this doesn't apply to me. And if you believe that, if you feel that way, then you're right. Because you're not going to do anything about it anyway. But that's not going to stop the other people who are willing to change the way they think about risk, and the way they're willing to think about work, and the way that they're willing to think about their own actions and their own choices from winning. You're not going to stop those people. So, look, it's not a race. It's not about you versus anybody else. But you being unwilling to accept truths like this will not help you win. It'll only help them. So, really my only hope is that if a person is hearing this, I hope it's the right time. I hope you're finding it, or it's finding you at the appropriate time where this can make some kind of impact. Because I really think that that's what life's about, is people working hard on the things that they want, the things that they love, and willing their dreams into reality. It makes for more interesting people. It makes for more interesting conversations. It makes for more interesting businesses and products. It's honestly, it's incredible. So I hope this works for somebody, even if it's just one person. I don't mind at all. That would be awesome. I'd love to talk about it. But that's what I've got for now. I think I'm gonna go back to that really interesting podcast now that I feel fulfilled, feel like I got it out. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you for listening, all 10 of you. Again, this is the Marset Perspective, the podcast from my car where I mostly just rant at you and laugh at my own jokes. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.